Welcome to Positive Philter with your host, Philip Wilkerson, a podcast that focuses on friends, family, health, and career with a little self-help around the way. Please join me in this journey for self-improvement, and I hope that what I have to share will make you a better person, thus making the world a better place. Hey, Positive Philter listeners, it's Philip Wilkerson. I would say back again, but I'm still on my podcast break. But I am with an exclusive bonus break of a break episode. And yes. So now I'm in the studio of my good friend and podcast mentor. He just got dubbed that. Greg, who is the host of Young, Black, and Bothered. I'm in his place in Silver Spring, Maryland. Not going to do the full government address, of course. And we're in his house, studio, house, whatever. And we're going to go do it. We're doing an improv episode. And the reason why I call him my podcast mentor is that I've been spending about the last hour or so learning the tricks of the trade from a podcast master. But when I say podcast master, he started off just like you and me, teaching himself all these techniques on his own. So I was like, you know what? He has such good knowledge to share about how to get your podcast started as a normal, I guess, average Joe. Let's do an episode. Let's pick his brain. Obviously Positive Philter is about sharing people's talents and what they can offer to the world and helping other people out, such as he helped me. So it's Philip Wilkerson, a.k.a. Positive Philter, a.k.a. Ill Phil, a.k.a. The Illest, a.k.a. Don Lemon, a.k.a. I got a tattoo on my leg of Austin, Texas for no reason, a.k.a. Never Drinking Lone Star Beer Again, a.k.a. It's your boy. So, Greg, go ahead and introduce yourself for the listeners.
Thank you, Phil. This is Greg, a.k.a. Hibachi Poppy, a.k.a. all positive nicknames this day. I have many more, but I won't get into them.
Yeah, he knows he's on the Positive Philter, so he's editing himself. But I like the Hibachi Poppy. I'm gonna call you the podcast extraordinaire, a.k.a. let people come over your house and do podcasts, a.k.a. You kicked your dog out of the room.
I had to.
Because you didn't want him on the episode, unfortunately. So, let's just go right into it. So, Greg, how long have you been doing podcasting?
It will actually be a year. It has been a year. On the 14th of June, it's been a year.
Insert clap. I don't know.
Oh, we'll give him that.
So, you've been doing it for a year. Tell us how the journey started. So, I told the listeners how I started was I was doing motivational YouTube videos in my car, and I realized, I got a face for radio. I'm bored. No one wants to see my face.
Face for radio?
Yeah, face for radio.
Oh boy.
So let me transfer this talking into an audio. But bring us to the journey how you started a podcast.
Well, I mean, honestly, it started from listening. A lot of people fail to realize podcasting has been a trend for over 9 years now. Mm-hmm. My first podcast I ever listened to was actually Rod and Karen's The Black Guy Who Tips. So shout out to them. You can follow them at TBGWT on Twitter and every possible social media, so shout out to them. But for 9 years I listened to a bunch of sports podcasts and stuff like that. And The Black Guy Who Tips. And then I thought about it. I'm like, my friends and I, we have these conversations so often. Why not just give people good game anyway? So we started with a Blue Yeti mic, and it was absolutely terrible for a solid 30 episodes.
30, wow.
30,
man.
yeah.
I mean, you got 100 in.
Yeah, tell me.
So that's like, what's that? I don't know, quick math. Is that like 1/3?
Yeah, four.
What is that?
Well, with podcasting, a lot of people take for granted the knowledge that you get from other podcasters. You have to know your community. If you don't know the community, you won't be able to get those 5-star ratings. You won't be able to connect like I've connected with you, and honestly other people as well. Community is everything with podcasting.
Yeah, it's like content people. I mean, all the YouTube people know each other. So you listen to podcasts. How do you normally listen to it, on your phone?
Yeah, basically all day long.
When you started yourself, you listen on your phone?
Yeah.
And you were into that wave. And then, let's take us through. You was like, okay, I'm having these conversations with my friends. I want to start a podcast. For me, I reached out. I mean, I just did like, tell me about podcasting, and one of my friends, Sam Nang, hooked me up with his friend, Dean Picari, who actually had a podcast. I talked to him for like an hour just off the break. He just said, these are things you need to do at his own time. And I just started. Like, he told me what hosting site. He told me about like getting a logo that you can put on iTunes and all that stuff. And I just took all his advice and I just did it. How did you kind of go from, I'm going to have these conversations, to starting?
Honestly, I did the complete opposite. We got drunk and we decided to just talk. Obviously, being able to do that, you can gauge what your content is when you're in a room with your boys and stuff like that. And a lot of people think they can start podcasts that way, and it's not that way at all. Like, you know, for you being Positive Filter, you actually do have to filter out certain things as well. So with us, trust me, you've been on the show. We've had to filter a lot just for the sake of filtering it.
Yeah, you was live and y'all was just raw and uncut. Uncut and raw.
And the thing is, even with us being raw and uncut, you still have to like scale it back for your listeners because they're not in the room with you. So with us, I tell anybody that wants to start podcasting, put a mic in front of your face and talk for 45 minutes. Honestly, with yourself and a friend, if you guys have that chemistry, then you might be able to do a show.
Well, that was one of the reasons too when I decided. I used to do like the motivational speaking in the car, and it was cool to do like a quick 5 minute, 5-minute video here and there. But I realized, like you said, that test thing, I really struggled to talk by myself for more than 10 minutes. So then I was like, you know what? Though. I was like, you know what? Because I can't talk by myself for 10 minutes, I need to have an interview style because I do well just talking to new people. I know that, like, just from my background in counseling, I'm good at, I'm not going to say I'm good at interviewing, but it's just natural for me.
You're damn good at interviewing.
I just talking to people, you know what I'm saying? I'm just having conversations. So I guess that's a good mindset, is just like turn a mic on and see whether it's by yourself or with a friend or a host, if you can have an organic conversation for longer than 30 minutes.
Exactly. And some people, they say, like, you know, their first show is maybe like 15, 20 minutes.
Yes.
And just make it like a regular phone conversation. If you want to talk like that, then hey, that's what your niche is. Like, you need to be able to have like 15, 20 minutes. Obviously, we go for 2 hours because there's so many segments and stuff that we have. But with you, what I admire about you, first of all, like, happy Father's Day, because I didn't get to say that to you at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
But
if you want to know what my name of my kids are, you can just take a look right here on my leg.
Oh, boy.
It's about Bennett and Miles. I will never forget my own kids' names. Shout out to myself.
Oh, Lord. But yeah, like with your show, like, I listen to your interviews and you're so profound at what you do. It's almost as if like you're not even reading it from like paper or you have anything just like strategized. It just comes out, and your guest, your like co-host, or anybody that you have on the show just is comfortable with you. So you could fit in with any possible show. You could do like Let's Talk, bro. You can go on like the Stephen A. Smith podcast and probably have a 90-minute show with him just because of how comfortable you are.
I don't know. I think it's just because I like to talk. I don't know. Just comfortable. I think that I also, one of the things I learned about from my time in podcasting is that I'm basically just a facilitator of all the amazing people that want to be on my show. So like, literally, I'm just like, yo, you're doing dope things. I'll have you on the show and ask you questions, and I let the guest take lead. All I'm doing is asking questions. And then what I try to do is I try to listen to the conversations and then, you know, ask a question of a question, but I need to control myself because I can go on so many tangents. Like, I could say like, oh man, that's a nice Instapot that you got there, and we're going to talk about Instapot. So I definitely need to create an outline. So when you were freestyling with your boys earlier,
oh boy,
you were just freestyling. When did you start saying, I need to have like segments and I need to have some structure to my show? Because I did that for myself.
For us, it was from people telling us that they don't listen to shows longer than an hour. No, you're one.
I was one. I was one. I would do that.
You're one. You know. But yeah, our first couple shows were like 2 hours, 45 minutes, 3 hours, and you forget that you're not there to just talk and continue to talk. You have to have something segmented, because after a while, even for me listening to it back now, I'm like, we were just talking about anything. Like if someone threw out a joke, that was an extra 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So having the structure, you know for a fact that you can't stumble. There's not going to be any dead spots in your show. And more importantly, like you know your topics. I tell everybody that's on the show, research it. I send them like the outline the night before. That way they have time to be like, hey, I'm on the phone. I'm, at lunch. Let me go and look at the articles. Plus we talk every day. We have that communication where even if we don't talk for like a whole day about something, someone knows what's going on in the news that we can put in the articles.
Yeah, I agree with that too. And I would say the outline for me helps me stay structured, because if I didn't, I'm going to be the tangent king. But additionally, I think that I like to get my guest involved before the show by letting them create an outline of the things they want to talk about. Because what I also noticed, that a lot of people are nervous about getting on podcasts. Like for me, like I'm just talking to the mic. I'm feeling so comfortable because I've done so many podcasts, and I'm just used to like this invisible audience that's just, the listeners of the podcast. But for some people, this is their first time they ever done anything media related, like so they get really nervous. So I like to help them get a sense of control by saying, you know what do you want to talk about? Give me some outline things that you want to talk about, whether it's the topic or your book that you wrote or something like that. And then the guest gets involved before the show even starts. And then I think they feel comfortable.
Yeah. And also tell your guests to listen to your show. A lot of people want to be guests on other people's shows often. It's like, oh, let me come on your show, and they've never listened to a show.
I hate that. Can I tell you something? I'm on pet peeves. This is not Positive Filter, but I don't know if you're starting to get this. I'm not even like legit famous, right? I'm nobody. Like I'm just Phil. But I'm getting these random emails where someone's like, "Hey, I'm a book author. Can I be on your show?" And I think it's like, I think legit is like, I think what they do is just comb through podcasts and just send out mass emails.
Yeah,
is that true?
No, it's definitely true. What they do is, thanks to like apps like Luminary, and even with Anchor, they have like sponsored posts and stuff like that. So people will go and pick through shows that are like, they aren't like true crime or something like that. Something that they know that they can go and plug a business, a brand, and they say, hey, I'll do your show and then I'll promote it on my site as well. It's basically like Fiverr for podcasting. Like, oh yeah, I'll come on your stuff in order to make sure that I get my free promotion.
I get that. I hear and I see that, John. Yeah. So I literally, you know what I do? I literally start trolling them back and say, tell me your favorite episode of Positive Filter. And then they never respond to me.
See, I've done that. And then one of my friend podcasting as well was like, Greg, why don't you just take them up on the offer? And I was like, I would do that, but I don't know their brand. That gives you the notion of like, I got to study their stuff. I got to read their books and stuff like that.
I ain't doing that.
Yeah. If it's not important to me or my co-host, this is no point.
Also, I also say additionally too, like, like how am I going to, I got limited time now. You see me, I'm coming over here to hang with you on a school night. Like I'm doing this on my school night. Yeah, did I just say that? I'll just say the school night. But on the real though, like I'm spending time, like my podcast, I told you right now, like my podcast is only including my family and my friends. I'm not spending time getting no randos on my show. I believe that in my life, I already have the amazing people and guests that I need. And all the people in my life are already doing the big things that I can plug into and have them share their talents with the world. So
absolutely,
I don't need no randos to do that. So the shout out to you guys. If you're a random person and you're not on my show, unless you're like famous, unless you're everyone other than NeNe Leakes.
No NeNe.
No NeNe. No, you're never going to be on my show.
What is wrong with her?
You know why I'm mad at NeNe, right?
You want to tell the people? I've heard this story.
I'll tell the people. I'm going to say it over again. I was in Atlanta at a hotel for a conference. I saw NeNe Leakes in the hotel lobby having cocktails. I walked up to her very appropriately, as people know I do, and I said, NeNe, it's very nice to meet you. May I take a picture with you? And you know what she said?
What'd she say?
No. The end. That's the end of the story. And I walked away in shame.
Wow.
So, if I ever get put on, I'm just going to be, that's it. That's the one celebrity I'm going to be petty to. Powered by petty. I kind of want to be driven. I'm driven by, driven by success to be famous one day, just so I can, not take a picture with her.
You know what you should do? You should do, an episode of Positive Filter where you try to say something positive, maybe just like a mini, like 5-10 minute episode where you talk about NeNe Leakes and all the positive things that she's done in the world. It's not going to last longer than 5 minutes, but it's going to be a great show.
I got one thing that she did. She, I think, didn't she start as an adult dancer?
Yes.
And she changed her life, and she became a phenomenal woman. I mean, I could agree. She actually became something, kind of like Cardi B, all these people that did these things out of hardship. So I'll give NeNe credit for that.
Yeah.
That's the one nice thing.
And she hasn't changed either. A lot of people, they get money and it's like, oh, damn, like who are you?
Okay, so I'll give NeNe that. But then besides that, I'm also powered by petty, meaning like...
By petty.
I'm powered by petty, meaning if someone told me I can't do something, I'm going to do it. And then I kind of like would troll it by saying like, like tagging people and saying that you couldn't believe in me, look at me now kind of thing.
I hear that.
But I want them to see it. So that's powered by petty. So we kind of went on tangents. I'm powered by petty. I don't like NeNe Leakes. We got random guests on our show. How did you decide that your show, like similar to my show, is like an interview? Like you said it with your boys, right? How did you limit it to what boys and how you pick your guests?
Oh, well, we originally didn't limit the boys. We would literally just be 6 to 8 of us in here. But the older you get and the more responsibilities that you have, like you start like dwindling down on friendships. Okay. And, honestly, after listening to your show about being more positive and keeping positive people in your life, I was like, oh, well, there's certain people that needed to be eliminated from the process. So as a result, like you can't bring everybody along on the journey, even with podcasting. If so, you would literally have 50 people all trying to jump on your show and talk their stuff.
That's funny. You're saying 50 people trying to jump on your show. I don't have people trying to jump on my show.
Well, yeah.
It's a different audience.
Yeah. Well,
we're in a different world. See, like, I had to, like, hound people to be on my show.
Honestly,
I guess I'm hounding people because, like I said, I think I have a lot of people in my life that are very shy and very modest, and they get nervous. So they're like, I had to go out of my way to get them. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, I mean, also your setup is a little bit different from ours. Like, remember I told you we started with just a Blue Yeti mic. And what we would do is we sit on the coffee table and it's like, hey, talk your shit. And when everybody gets drunk and wants to go home, we'll turn the mic off. And it transitioned from that to, honestly, a business. And once you start talking money and sponsors, and you're responsible not just for yourself, but for, like, others, and then you have to instill in them that, hey, you're on the mic. Once you say this, it's just like Twitter. Yeah, you might have deleted that tweet, but it's still out there for everybody. Anybody who downloaded it, anybody who's heard it now has that preconceived notion that that's the person that you are. So what we had to do on the show is we had to sit down, all of us, and say, hey, what do we all want from this? This isn't just Greg's podcast and nothing like this. This is everybody. So if one person says something bad, it reflects on all of us.
Yeah, because you're all in the room.
Yeah. So, and you can't really check your co-host on the air. You have to like go into it knowing that they're not going to say anything crazy. Like that's why we limit the Trump talk and like the politics talk, because we have certain, people who come onto the show and they might have a thought that it's not a collective thought. It's not something that honestly should be said outside of the room. And that's where you gauge the public podcasting from the boys are talking.
That's true. Yeah. But see, I guess I don't have to worry about that with the content and branding of positivity, one. And two, is like, it's only one-on-one guests. So I kind of get a chance to shut, like I am the, this is my show. Yeah. And then I say, let's go on my show. And, I guess you're right. Like, there's a little bit more. The more and more group dynamics you add, the more and more things you have to worry about. Yeah. That's pretty making it simple. I guess I'm never going to have no group show.
You can do it. I think with you're more of a moderator than I am, because you've seen me on the show where I just literally scale back and I let people talk. And then when I have to reel them in, it's kind of hard to reel everyone in and be like, hey, we got to get back on topic. We've talked about Cardi B for 26 minutes. Yeah. And you can't really edit the good content from the bad because it's all bundled into one. True. But then again, we have 3 co-hosts. Whereas with you, if it's just you and another person, you're like, okay, you can figure that out.
That makes sense. Yeah. Okay, so what is, for the beginner podcaster, what was, you said the first 30 was trash. What are some of the top lessons that you learned in those first 30 episodes? A couple things, like just,
Contracts. Contracts. You have to get contracts. It might not sound like a big thing for anybody who's starting out. Like, oh, it's just podcasting. This is my friend. This is somebody that I went to school with. This is someone that said they would do the interview for me. But yeah, they did that interview for you. But what happens if you have another guest on and their thoughts are completely different from the guest that was on your show previous to them? And they hear that and they're like, oh, well, this is the type of content that they're putting out. I can't be a part of that, that image, that show. So can you take my episode off? No, I can't, because when it takes the numbers off, like, it makes everything completely different. So if you have that contract saying, hey, I'm a guest on the show and this content is yours.
What shouldn't they just understand that like anyone that's on a TV show, like, this is an individual show, like someone that goes on Oprah 1 week and goes on another show the next week, those are completely separate shows.
Yeah. And at that point, they always have some like liability there of, hey, they said something, they changed their mind, but you signed a contract. Even if it's non-binding, like, you can just say this and say, hey, I'm going to come on your show. You got a text message. That's a contract. Or with me, what I do is, if it's an important guest, I have to have them sign a contract, because in 5 years from now, you're like, hey, I've changed this course of life. I want to make sure that what I said 5 years ago is not there. At that point, it'll probably be in the archives or something anyway. But you have to be respectful and mindful of people have, one, already heard this show, and two, if they are starting from 1 to 100 or whatever amount of shows they have, that's what they wanted to hear. People do change, but
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So contracts is one. What about
contracts is one?
What's some other ones, like just quality of sound or
quality of sound is two. Do not buy a USB mic. I tell everybody, don't do what I did and read like Reddit and look at YouTube, and they say, oh, get the Blue Yeti mic as your first microphone. Anybody who still uses the Blue mic, I'm sure they do, in an isolated room. It picks up every single thing, and it's disgusting. It's terrible to work with when you're actually trying to edit, and it picks up every noise in here, from my dog to a coin dropping. So no USB mics. Get to know your community. If you are in like a category on iTunes, like for us, we're comedy. So get to know your surroundings. Look at topics that, people have as episode names. If it interests you, listen to it, and then you'll be able to gauge what your content can be.
Yeah, it's true.
A lot of people will say, oh, I don't listen to other podcasts, I just do my own. You don't know the community, you don't know the market.
Well, I meant to say, I don't know the community or market, but I do listen to other podcasts. But the only standard I have is like, if you my friend. Like, that's it. Like, if you look at my rating, like, like, it's your podcast, it's like a couple of my friends. I don't listen. Quite honestly, I stopped listening to famous people. Like, I don't listen to Joe Rogan's show.
No.
And I mean, and no shade to them. It's just like, for me, I don't want to hear the thoughts of those people. I just want to hear the thoughts of my friends.
Yeah.
So I literally, if you look at my list, it's like all people like me. Like, and I guess you're right, but I don't look at the categories though. Like, so one might be one of my good podcasts that I listen to is Common Sense, about education. Yours, I guess, is comedy. I didn't know it was comedy. I just thought it was dudes talking. Mine is about, I guess I call it self-help. I don't know. I just couldn't think of anything else. And I just look at different ones. But like I said, that was my main standards, the community part. And I think one of the things that I saw from you, which I appreciate, is that, like, also just being involved in the community, on social media, like the little group me's, and I'm on a Facebook group. Yeah. I've asked a lot of questions, and I think that's also been really helpful. Yeah. How did you get into those?
Well, for me, I don't know how I got in the podcast group me group.
Yeah, I don't know.
I was like, oh, well, I think Delilah, shout out to her, she was like, oh, well, Greg, like, here's a podcast group. You listen to a lot of them. So I guess she was trying to get me into listening to new podcasts. And I'm completely fine with listening to new podcasts, but my thing is, I'll give you 3 episodes. You have to show me that you're interested in your own show. You can't take off, like, you had a break. You have a legitimate, like, reason for it. But there were some people's shows that I would hear, their last episode was like September 2nd, and then they would have one March 9th. And then,
no consistency.
Yeah, the consistency thing for me is key. Like, that's the only ones that can do stuff like that, those long hiatuses for me, are true crime. And I can listen to true crime all day long.
Yeah. No, I get that too. I even read a stat that if you can't make it past 8 episodes, or at least I think it was like 6 months or so, the podcast is going to die. Yeah. And I've seen many times where people literally, their podcasts have died. Yeah. So we back. And so, Greg, I was thinking, we were talking about multiple things about starting podcasts and how you got involved with podcasts and all those different things and how podcasts, how they survive. So let's move to the future. What are some of your goals? You already hit 100 episodes, so you hit the century mark.
Yes.
Congratulations on that. Yes. Now, what are some of your goals for the future of your podcast?
The first goal is to get everybody on a live show where we actually go and have an audience. Maybe like a small, intimate, like comedy show or something like that, where we have people come in at like a bar or something, and we're just all talking like we normally would on the show, and then go from there. That's my first main goal. I don't want to start too big and then I can't reach it. I do want to still be on the Black Guy Who Tips once. I told myself that is my goal.
The Black what?
The Black Guy Who Tips. So
Who's
that's
that?
a podcast, Rod and Karen. So that's their show. My first podcast I ever listened to was them. So
Where they are they local?
No, they live in Charlotte. But what they do is they have the most simple setup in the world. So all their guests can actually call in and say if you have like a Skype call, or I think they use Crowdcast. So you can use it from your computer wherever you are in the world and have a conversation with them.
Do they do that with normal people all the time?
Yeah, and they have a chat with Crowdcast where you can actually have your audience engage with you throughout the show. So
That's
say
very
how we
cool.
have like that segment for First 48. We can go and have people say, hey, this is Dallas, Texas. Hey, this is New Jersey,
So
unfortunately.
it's like a big radio show.
No, they're not. They've had, I think they're at 1,900 episodes, but they record 4 or 5 times a week. They don't record on Thursdays and Fridays. It's just basically Saturday through Wednesday.
Do they get paid for this?
I'm sure they have a bunch of sponsors like Adam and Eve and stuff like that. But I told you before, all you have to do is ask.
Adam and Eve, isn't that the sex stuff?
The sex stuff.
Are they a married couple?
They're a married couple.
Oh, okay, they do. Okay.
Yeah.
I was
So-
like, Jesus. Like, okay.
But honestly, you would be surprised how many sponsors will literally let you be, sponsored by them if you just honestly ask.
And they just normal people?
Just normal people, just like you and I.
Wow.
And
That's cool.
Yeah,
I like to meet, maybe I'll be crazy world that, are they in our podcast group me?
they're in
Next
a whole
level.
other stratosphere.
Okay, got it.
But the thing is, they're so personable that
what I'm saying.
Yeah, you can just like at them and say, hey, like
I liked your show.
I've had him, I had him ask me questions. I've asked him questions as well, and honestly, they're just like generally nice people.
And normal people.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I'm glad, like, the podcast community, they do have 2 different bubbles. They have the good bubble, like, we're all in, and then you have that bubble where it's just like crabs. And you never know exactly who's there to just take the information and run with it and be like, hey, like, I'm done. And
Oh, really? There's a world like that, huh?
There is.
I stay out of that world.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, I feel like I'm so naive that I don't want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
I bet there's like that kind of world with any of these content. I
Yeah.
bet the YouTubers be doing that
Oh,
to
absolutely.
each other all the time.
I can tell you a funny story. So I go to CES every year for like tech products and stuff like that. And
What place?
CES, so Consumer Electronics Show. So
all right. See, I'm learning new things. Okay.
yeah, so basically every year in January they have this convention in Las Vegas where
It's like a Comic-Con, but for tech stuff.
exactly. And
like
every
hovercrafts and stuff,
Oh
right?
boy, man, I'm telling you, there's so much stuff and brands that you can see. It's ridiculous. So we would go there, and the amount of people who really just, I don't want to say they hate each other, but they would rather not be in the room with them because they get more publicity. They have more YouTube followers. They have more content, people who follow them on Twitter and social media and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, my rule of thumb is you don't need 82,000 followers to honestly have a follower. Most of those people out of that 82,000 don't care about you. They don't really listen to your stuff at all. They just are there. It's fluff. If you have 15, 20 people that listen to your show and will buy your merchandise and honestly just say, hey, I like this clip from your show. I'll share this episode.
Yeah, I like that
reaches 50 people. Then another 50 people will listen to it. And don't underestimate like your grandmother on Facebook and stuff. Get her out there. Be like, hey, grandma, share that episode. Like there'll be one of her neighbors whose kid.
I mean, that's how like literally the happenstance. That's
Yeah.
how I've learned about. I don't know. I listened to you in a group me, and then you listened to me in a group me, and that was it.
Exactly.
I think that's how we kind of started connect. I think we connected in that group
Yeah.
name.
I saw the show, and for me, it was like it hit all 3 targets. You had like the show art. I was like, perfect. You described your show And a lot of people fail to do that with podcasting too, is in their show notes, they say nothing. It's just like, follow me on social media. You like, no, like this is what we're going to discuss. You have things outlined.
I didn't think it was that let me phrase that's serious. I didn't think it was that.
Oh, it is.
I just did show notes so people would know why they listen to my show.
Yeah. Like, obviously you have the follow us here and rate us, but like give them a brief like overview. Hey, I'm interviewing this person and we're talking about this. Yeah. If you do that, that could gauge if I'm actually going to listen to it or I'll just wait until next week's episode.
That makes sense. That's a very interesting concept. But yeah, so like the content creator, there is a whole new world. I've learned like there's politics and everything.
Yeah.
And I try not to lose myself, and I try to be nice to everyone.
Absolutely.
Because that's just who I am. But I did realize there are some people, like you said, that like maybe are not so nice in certain industries. You know, like I used to be a power lifter, and there's guys that would hate on other power lifters. Or you go to a conference and, you know, like a career, I'm a career counselor, and in that world, there's probably career counselors that hate on each other there too. Like, you're right, there's different pockets of politics. But hopefully, in my senses, I just don't lose myself in none of that and just be nice to everybody. So I think that's my mindset. You know, like if I go in a room with these different dynamics, like just stay in my lane and be nice to people. And obviously stay away from mean people. Like you said, those two bubbles.
Yeah. Because, I mean, honestly, what can they do to you or what can they say to you if all you've done is give them, like, you know, your generosity and be nice to them?
Or if they're bad people, just stay away from them.
Yeah.
Or don't collab with them.
At all.
Or have your spider sense. And know what are some things to protect the naive podcasters from being taken advantage of. Yeah. Those are some things. What have you learned to how do you said contracts, that's protecting your content, but what are some other things, some other tips that you would give the listeners who say, you know, look out for this? Like, one thing I've learned is when you get those random emails, don't think you're getting your head boosted. Realize that it's some mass email thing, and if you hit them with what episode have they listened to, they usually just ghost you because they know they didn't listen to your episode.
Yeah.
So what are some things you do to protect yourself?
Honestly, for protecting myself is honestly just contracts, obviously.
Yeah.
And then just making sure that the people that you hold near and dear on your show, the people that you bring on your show are trustworthy, honest, and they're not fake. I feel like you don't want to bring somebody to your show that's going to be a misrepresentation for themselves as well as you.
Yeah. So that makes sense. I thought about that too. That's why I like the one episode. I mean, I like the interview style with interview of my friends. Not saying I've vetted my friends, but like I said, I know them. Yeah. And I wouldn't, I'm not going to have Joe Smo on my podcast. I have, some people. Now, I've had 2 people on my podcast maybe that the first time we ever met, that was like recording.
Yeah.
And knock on wood and blessings, they became friends afterwards. So I think maybe somewhere in the ethos or in the world that through social media, I've had authentic relationships with nice people. So I haven't been burned yet. Like for instance, shout out to my mentee, Luke Keys. He's a young frat. And we literally met for the first time recording. Well, and then follow each other on Instagram. And from that relationship, he's been a really good kid.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like, I think that's one of the things I think for future podcasters, I've gotten a couple episodes in where I maybe can have a couple duds here and there. But besides that, I think it's best to stay, when you're starting off, if you're a fresh amateur podcaster, just stay in your friend circle as your guest. Stay in your family circle as your guest before you branch out to strangers.
Yeah, don't look for episode 10 at episode 1. A lot of people literally just have the foresight to say, you know what? I know I'm going to do this for 5 to 10 years. I know I'm going to monetize. That's a whole nother argument there with monetizing. No. You're not going to make any money. Not initially. I'm sure there are podcasters like the Joe Rogans of the world who are sponsored because they are their own sponsor. They have their name already. Whereas like us, like, my rule of thumb is if it's not a black podcast, I honestly don't listen to it often. The reason why is because I want to give our community that base first. I want to give them that listen that, other companies will not. There are companies like Loudspeakers and all that are produced, and they produce black podcasters, But for us, like the regular folks out there, like we don't have that. So we have to do the legwork.
I don't know. I was just thinking, like, if you're my friend, I see you on social media, I follow you. So I follow some of my students. Some of my students at the university I work at. I follow their podcast, and it kind of gives me a gauge of what kids are talking about. So I use it as an information thing to like keep me plugged into the youth. And then I just listen to, like you said, my friends, and by happenstance, black, white, young, but usually it's my friends. And they've only said, "Yo, I got a podcast. I subscribe and I check it out." That's my rule of thumb. But I think, like I said, for the first listeners, I think I agree with that one term. Like, I didn't think anything beyond like 10 episodes.
Oh yeah.
And then I also just thought, like, I didn't want to just be someone that like did 2 episodes and then fell off. So, I mean, my first time when I started recording, it was like every like 3 weeks and long gaps and no consistency. And then I think there was this one time where someone was like, "Yo, you know, if you just really care about this, you'll be more consistent." I don't know why it just struck me, and that's when I went. That's when I went weekly, and I think that made a big difference for me. I think that's when my podcast grew, and that's when I felt more confident about it. Is when I was weekly.
Yeah.
So where we at in time?
We are officially at 30 plus minutes.
30 plus minutes. All right. I got a couple more questions, then we're gonna do a shot for shot.
Okay.
Let me think. So we got the guests. We got this. We got where you're gonna go. Your live podcast. You're gonna go in the future. And we talked about. I do want to talk about that. You don't monetize. Is your podcast monetized?
Basically, we have sponsors.
Yes.
We have a few. We do the Amazon affiliate sponsorships that they have. We use NordVPN, so you'll hear that on our show as well. Yeah. But for the most part, a lot of the stuff you're going to get from our show is out of pocket.
Same here.
Like editing, out of pocket. Merchandise and stuff like that. We did the logos and everything. Out of pocket. We do have TeePublic and everything, which is fine.
What's TeePublic?
TeePublic is honestly a way that we sell our like merchandise. So we slap our logo on like shirts and merchandise, like mouse pads and things like that. And people can buy them if they want to represent. Usually I don't like hound people and say, "Hey, we got that." I don't want to be like Fashion Nova or something. But you know,
what is Fashion Nova?
Fashion Nova is what, I guess.
I just see a lot of people on Instagram wear it with the girls with big butts. I don't know. What is it?
I'm assuming it's what H&M would be if like you could fit stuff in H&M, because
is it a store?
It's like an online store. It's an online H&M.
You know, what's
for the
funny
most part.
is every time someone's like, "Yo, Fashion Nova," I literally don't actually shop. I just know that the Instagram models wear it. Like, first of all, can we? There's a random tangent, right? How do you claim yourself to be an Instagram model?
Ooh.
Like, how did it? Like, you get famous off of that? Like, that's like a real title.
That's a pretty spicy meme.
I've been thinking about that. Like, I literally did a post on Twitter just now on the way here. I was like, how does someone claim that they're a social media influencer? Meaning, like, for a social media influencer, what is the minimum requirements, and who certifies this? Is there like a accreditation that says you are dubbed a social media influencer?
Oh boy, that's a tough one, because you can't say anything. If this was our show, it would have been that topic would have been a little bit different. But
yeah, let's do the PG version of this.
Fine, yes. So, being an influencer on, I guess, social media is your following cares about you,
yes,
and whatever you can advertise for them.
Okay.
So, there will be, I don't want to use women as like a catalyst for this argument, but say, for example, there's a guy and he's an avid like shoe collector, reseller.
Yes, a sneakerhead, okay.
Yeah. The thing is, they're not even sneakerheads anymore. They just literally are resellers. There are people who will buy a shoe for $400 and sell it for $1,200.
Yes.
So to me, that's not being a sneakerhead. A sneakerhead is when you keep your shoes, when you care for your shoes. Yeah, you might have 6 pairs of the same Jordans, but then you sell them. It's something that you've stocked before you sold. It's not something that you, honestly, it never touched your doorstep.
Okay, so how do you become an influencer with the sneakers then? And to say I'm a social media influencer.
Honestly, just having a following of people who care about your fashions, care about you, and you post enough for people to be like, "Hey, I'm going to like every third photo." They're anticipating it. That's why they have, what is it, like Instagram stories? Like a lot of people, you can tell, I don't want to say they're influencers, but they have an influence on their followers by the amount of seen posts that they have. If you see that they have 15 Instagram stories, for the most part, they're influencing someone. Even if they only have 100 followers, they're influencing someone. They're not doing it just to be doing it. They're doing it because people are watching. That's influenced.
I got that 100%. So how does someone dub themselves? So, like I've seen someone actually like when they do like The Bachelorette or something like that.
Oh boy.
No, I'm talking about any show, and they're like, "What is your job title?" And then they say job title is social media influencer.
Oh boy.
I was like, how's that a job title?
Yeah. Well,
You know what I'm talking about? I saw it on LinkedIn too. I saw it on LinkedIn where someone literally said as their job title was social media influencer.
Yeah. But the thing, you can be anything you want to be online. Like I could tell you that.
Okay, I'm a social media influencer.
Yeah, I mean, look at the shows that are on like HGTV. Like I don't know if your wife watches like HGTV, but mine does. Yeah. And like we watch, what is it, like House Hunters, for example, and they'll say that I'm a social media influencer.
I saw that in the title.
I got a home that I want to get. My budget is $930,000. Like, how in the world do you do that? Someone's paying for this, just like podcasting. Right now, it's not a market that's regulated when it comes to marketing. You have to go and get it. But in 5 years, when everybody has a podcast, but they have like that top, that top of the level, top of the line, like show where it's like, okay, yeah, I'm going to pay them $5,000 an episode. It's just all influence. Whoever's listening to your show is an influence. They're being influenced.
I mean, I get it, but also at the same time, I'm just like, where's like, okay, I went to school. I got a master's. My master's, therefore, says I have a master's in counseling. What accreditation or what training do you have to say that I am a social media influencer?
Looks.
All right, see, that's why I have a face for radio.
No,
I have no shot at social. All right, I'm the what's it called? The B team social media influencer.
You want to know what's funny is
I'm just joking, but you know what I'm saying. Like it's crazy. Like, I do find that crazy that is someone out there in the world that's like, I'm a YouTuber. Okay, that makes sense, I guess, because on the flip side, as a YouTube content creator, like they're tangibly showing me, like if someone says I'm a YouTuber or content creator, I tangibly can say, you know what, that is a verified thing because I see that person, when they make their videos, they use good effects. They literally, they're like on their laptop editing and chopping it up.
Yep.
And actually, okay, you making good content. You are a content creator. But I don't know, for social media influencers, sometimes I feel like you're just taking a picture, look good, and then like, what was the skill at? The hashtags you used? Or the time of day you posted it? Or how cool you are?
Yeah. But
or how often you're on your phone? And I don't know.
Yeah, that term right there, the social media influencer, people who influence or something like that on YouTube and Instagram, and I'd say maybe 10, 15 years, like people aren't going to be going after degrees and masters and stuff like that because it's going to be so much money in like social media and things like that where they're like, I don't need that because I'm established already. And that's just how me personally, I see that because it's happening now. There are people who are like, what's her name? I don't want to put her name out there, but
you're saying people dropping out of school.
They're not even dropping out of school. They're just not going to school. They're not going to college because they already have 175,000 followers on YouTube and, Instagram. So they're getting their money now and not having to work for it later. There's like,
but then I guess maybe hopefully some tangibly, some of the best ones are at least learning editing skills or marketing or business or making contracts, and they're learning how to finesse it from eventually I won't be so cool on social media, but at least I have a business or something. Yeah. Or some stock or something.
Well, absolutely.
That's the smart people.
Yeah. What they're doing is they're taking those classes and the courses that are allowing you to get the certificates. If you like your degree and your master's is one thing, but some companies like the Googles of the world, they're actually giving you certificates that will get you a job that's $160,000, $170,000 a year with 2 certificates. And that takes you 6 months.
They're telling you how to do like the Google ads correctly and all that. Because they're teaching marketing.
Yeah, they don't want you. They want what you can sell. And social media influencers do it the best with their marketing of their looks and who they can bring on. You might see someone who has 200,000 followers and they follow 28 people. And you're like, how does that number even work out? They don't follow their own moms. They don't follow anything. They follow Fashion Nova and like Diddy or somebody like that. They follow the big people because they're usually in their social circles. You might have Instagram model who's like Bernice Burgos or something like that.
I don't know who that is, but I'm sure she's famous.
She's a very young lady, a very beautiful young lady. And she has hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram. No one can tell you what she does from 9 to 5.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
nobody can tell you what she does from 9 to 5.
The 9 to 5 part.
But what you do know is she's going to give you 4 posts a day, and they're going to be viewed 3.5, like 3.4, 3.5 million times.
Yeah, and it's like normal stuff like the same, like looking at the sunset or something, or it's on a beach. Or
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, we have a friend that literally has a traveling business, and she travels so much. I'm like, oh my God, like I want to do that. And she says, all you have to do is honestly put forth the effort. Her job and her career is not her travel business. She just knows for a fact that she can do that as a side hustle. So podcasting can be a side hustle, and it can make you a social media influencer.
Right.
You influence people every day. You influence me.
No.
You do.
I don't know. That's interesting. So I think that what that means, I think that this is a self-proclaimed title that needs, I almost say that social media influencer is the fake title that's behind the real hard work. Mm-hmm. Now, ideally, the hard work as in, you're writing or editing or learning how to do the skills of podcasting. So I'm never going to call myself a social media influencer because that seems like just a fad. I think that it'd be more like a public speaker or a motivational speaker or a career counselor. I feel like there's a title that happens to have a social media influence or influence of some sort. But I just think that does kind of, just the fact that you just had the people that had that blanketed one, like why couldn't she just be like, I'm a model or travel specialist that happens to have a lot of influence on social media?
Well, if you take the social word off of it and just say, hey, I'm a media influencer, it's the same thing.
I guess so.
I think you'll be taken more seriously by saying that you're a media
or anyone influencer. I guess and we could just go back in time, like Michael Jackson, our main entertainers were media influencers, but they were real entertainers that had talent.
Mm-hmm. But you entertain people too.
I guess so.
So technically, you are a social media entertainer, podcaster. Like you have all those titles. It's just more so, what do you deem that's more important than the other?
Yeah, that's true. Makes sense. Where we at in time?
We're at about 45.
That's good. So this is about a good time. So we went on a tangent about social media influencing. So now shot for shot. So with that being said, I know you listened to the episode. You get to ask me any random question. I get to ask you any random question.
Oh boy.
This movie is, while we're doing this episode, literally I've been taking tangents where I had to like refocus because in the background while we're watching it is Hitman. And this is the most garbage movie I've watched in a long time. Like we're watching it on mute. And so I'm just getting snippets of the action, and this plot makes no sense. Like this, there's really not that many good movies in the world. Like
no, don't go see Ma either.
I have, yeah. So which one that
Ma was a really bad movie.
Yo, so I had this dude, my friend Mark, and I judge him because he like literally just goes. I went out. He always say, "Yo, I'm going to the movies, y'all. Keep up. I'll keep you posted when I get out." And then he keeps you posted. He's like, "How's that movie?" And he literally just calls every movie trash.
Oh Lord!
And I was like, "What movie do you like?" And then he named the movies he did like were like Oscar-winning movies. So I was like, "Okay, so you only like the cream of the crop." But then I realized that he's actually right. Like the movies that are trash, but you just watch it. You just mindlessly watch it. Like for instance, he said that new X-Men junk was trash. But I would watch it. I would watch it like this, just in the background.
Oh.
Like, I don't care. I'm just going to watch this dude. It's the dude from Heroes, Sylar. Remember him? Mm-hmm. Like, what is he doing in this? Or Spock? Like, what is he doing? This movie makes no sense. So, okay, shot for shot. Like,
oh boy.
You want to go first? I go first.
It's up to you. All
right.
I got a good one.
All right. So we already listed. We always do the first 48. We already know. We already know what states you think are trash and yada yada yada. All right. So out of the 5 states that like Florida that always come up, right? And we're gonna do the first 48. We always every time. So if you listen to Greg's podcast, he does a segment called the first 48, and he does a news article. And I thought there was some conspiracy theory that he actually Googles and says Florida story, but he tells me crazy news stories, and he showed me. He showed me, so it's verified that usually it was Florida, Jersey, whatever. But I'm going to ask you this question: if you had, like, someone says, we will pay for your housing for the rest of your life, we'll give you a house, a mansion, no mortgage, is your house, but you have to live in Florida, Jersey, or Alabama or Mississippi. You get the house, a mansion. You get the house, everything paid for, maybe, and a new car and a job. So basically your life is set, but you have to live in this state, Florida, Jersey, Mississippi, Alabama, and Boise or Idaho. Which one are you going to take?
Oh, boy.
So everything cost of living is good. All that's good. You have to live there, though, for the rest of your life. And let me rephrase. Like, when you say, oh, but I'll just travel a lot. No, this is the stipulation.
That was definitely going to be one of them.
Yeah, I had to give you a stipulation because you're going to be like, oh, I could just live in any state and travel all the time. So you only get to leave that state. You only get to leave that state 2 weeks out of the whole year. You have to live there. You have to live there and be there. And you can only go to other places in the world for
vacation.
For vacation.
So you said
technically like a 2-week vacation, but you have to live there.
So you said Boise, Idaho, Florida, New Jersey, and what are the other 2?
Alabama and Mississippi.
Well, you can take Mississippi off because, like, just no.
Yeah, I mean, it's bad. Look at that
Mississippi.
education.
No.
It's like number 50.
Alabama, no. The reason why I don't like Alabama is because of everything that's going on down there.
It's trash too. I can tell you that.
Yeah,
I lived there before.
The food's probably really good. I've never personally been to Alabama, but I mean, I would live there before I live in Texas, if you want to say that. So
no, can't.
Yeah,
Texas is straight. I live in Texas. What you want? You know, Austin is the best city in America.
oh my goodness! Like,
stop it. Get some help.
But
I think it's the best state.
Let me see. What else?
Just Austin, not the whole state of Texas.
Honestly, out of all of them, Florida would be the last on my list. I don't think people understand like how bad of a state Florida is.
So you live in Jersey then?
No, I wouldn't live it. I would actually pick Idaho.
Oh yeah, Idaho's straight. Okay.
I would. The reason why I would pick Idaho is, one, I've never been there. I'm sure there's no like paranormal stuff there where there's like a serial killer, a child killer, something like that.
It's chill. It's pretty quiet. You'll be the only black person though. I'll tell you that right now.
The thing is, I don't have a problem with being the only black person.
Oh, you say that now. I went there. I counted 50 for 4 days.
That's
in
fine.
Boise.
That's fine. You know what won't happen? You won't be like Jordan Peele's Us. You won't see your twin. You won't see your tethered. It'll just be you.
I've never seen that movie yet. I need to see it.
I'm sorry. Spoiler alert.
No, that's all right. I told someone I don't really get worried about spoilers because I don't expect the whole world to stop watching something because of one person. Yeah. So you could tell me the whole plot for Us. I'll go watch it and still be scared.
Oh.
Because I'm also scared of everything.
Oh.
So
I'm sorry.
Boise, Idaho. So you would join Hillard. So if you live there, I have 2 people to go visit.
Yeah. My second would probably be, as much shit as I talk about it, I would live in Jersey.
I don't mind Jersey.
I think my issue with Jersey is my history with Jersey, with exes, and honestly, the crimes that they commit in Jersey are just so ridiculous. They're not Florida ridiculous, where it's like, you literally like attacked a woman with like an IHOP pancake. Like, that's Florida. Jersey's crimes are more like, you believe it because it's Jersey. Like, a woman gets arrested for running in a Walmart naked. Like, that is some Jersey stuff.
That stuff.
But
and the mob.
Oh yeah. I don't know too much about the mob. The Sopranos kind of let me down, so that's like my like moment in like mob ties, and that little scene from Rush Hour 2 where Jackie Chan said, "What's up, to the mob in there." But
that was crazy.
But other than that, Florida's just at the bottom of the list. If I had to live in Florida, though, it'd be Tallahassee.
I want to live in Tallahassee. I'd live in Tampa
Why is that?
because I got family there and it was straight.
Oh,
And I went to
okay.
the Super Bowl there to watch. All right.
All right. So, boy, I guess my question would be a little bit more simple, I guess, if you want to call it that. So, if you could ask O.J. Simpson,
The juice.
if you could ask O.J. Simpson 3 questions, what would they be?
Gosh. The
And he had to honestly answer.
The juice. I don't even want to know if he really did or not. So I'm not going to ask him. I wouldn't even ask him that. I would ask him like the most random off the call. Like, okay, so I'm telling you right now, one of the questions I would not ask him is if he did it or not. I just wouldn't want to know. Or I wouldn't be comfortable. It'd just be so awkward. So I'm not asking him that.
Okay.
I would ask him some random like, first I would ask him, why did he say I'm not black, I'm OJ? I would have like a racial discussion. Like, what does that even mean? Like
what drugs did you use when you
like? No, OJ, you are black. Like, you're black and you're OJ. So I would ask him that. Like, what was going through your mind when you said I'm not black, I'm OJ?
Do you think he like? Yeah,
I really think that he really thought that he was like the white folks. Like,
I think he thought the same.
I literally think he was surprised. Like, I'm just hanging out with the rich white folks, and I'm black. Like, he literally was so out of it, like disconnected from who he was as a black male that like if you look at it, he literally looked like he was shocked. Like that it was like that he was being treated as such. So that would be one question. Like, OJ, was that really going through your mind? Mm-hmm. And then he's gonna like remember like right after did you watch the documentary?
I did.
Did you see how he was trying to go back to black churches afterwards and was like, thank you for supporting me? It's like, this clown.
Exactly. Like, what's wrong with you, sir?
OJ. Okay, so that's one. I think I would ask him.
So that's what makes this question so hard, because you
so hard.
you want to ask that question.
I don't. I really don't.
Well, you know, you can rephrase it too and be like, "Hey, OJ,
if you do the OJ book, like, OJ, if you were to do it, how would you do it?" Okay, that's 2. OJ, if you were to do it, how would you do it? And then I'd pretty much be like, I'm scared, and then just be like, I'm in the presence of a murderer. Which I probably have been in, like, you know, like, let me phrase, like, not like a creepy way, but like, my dad's military, many military men, like, or guys that have been in the military. I've been around guys that have ended other people's lives, but it's probably in a service to their country, and like, they probably don't feel that great about it. But like, legit, like, I killed someone for no apparent, like, not a no apparent reason, but like legit murder. I don't think I've ever been around a murderer before. Now, I also have some not school counselors, but some counselor friends that actually, you know, did some counseling in prison, where they probably met like the worst of the worst people. I don't think I have it in me. I'd probably be like, this is like legit. I could never, like, you know, you ever watch that one show where the guy was like doing the interviews like this with the serial killers? Oh
yeah, no, that I couldn't do.
I don't think I could keep a straight face, or just like when they're like, I wore someone's face. I'd be like, okay, guard, get me out of here.
Because they always have them in like a really intimate setting where it's just them. The camera is like in a wall.
And he's got his handcuffs to the table. Like, no, I'm not doing that. So I guess the first question was, now I got the 2 questions, right? I said, OJ, when you said I'm not black, I'm OJ, what were you thinking? I would have said, OJ, if you were to do it, how would you do it? And then basically find out that he did it. And then I would say, OJ, most recently, why are you getting on Twitter now? Like, have you seen this?
Yeah.
Like, are you going to follow him?
Honestly, I'm so conflicted. I'm actually waiting for Suge Knight to get out of jail so I can just follow the 3 between Cosby, OJ, and him at the same time. Because I feel like they're going to give me, like, complete theater.
You know, I kind of just want to, like, not follow him because I don't want someone to look at my, like, you know, on my Twitter and says, who does Philip follow? And then they see that. That's like, that's not a good look. But I kind of want to scope because I want to see what other people say about him when he comments every day. Because you know, it's just going to be the most, it's going to show, like, the bottom of American culture. Like,
Yeah.
it's gonna show like it's gonna show like the stuff under the, I don't know. Can you grime? I don't know.
Yeah, like the grime.
The grime of America.
Yeah.
It's gonna be retweeting him or atting him. Like, we're gonna have to get off this real quick, and I'm gonna take a look. Did he already start yet?
We already on.
No, say, did he start his Twitter yet?
Oh, he's already started it. He went and addressed Khloe Kardashian, saying that he's not her father.
Okay. It's gonna be really bad.
Yeah.
Like, I might have to figure out someone else's phone, just look at it for a little bit, like, just to see what is he talking about. The juice. So those are my 3 questions. No, what was it again?
Yeah, those are your 3.
Why'd you get on Twitter? Yeah.
I'll give you a bonus. This was one that my coworker said to me this morning, because for some reason, like, my white coworkers are fascinated by OJ, and like,
he's an anomaly. He's a black dude that murdered someone and got away with it.
For one, my coworker didn't know that OJ was OJ. She thought that he was Ray Rice. She was like, he played for the Ravens. He had all the issues with his wife. I was like, no, that's Ray Rice. So that was one issue. So she goes and she explains to me that OJ Simpson is a really great guy, and she's followed his history for the past 5 years while he was in prison. I said, that's great. That's good news. The issue, though, is she told me that he was actually on Twitter doing videos. I thought that he was just tweeting. He's actually doing videos.
Yeah.
So I don't think I can follow that. I can't follow someone who uses Twitter in video form to get their thoughts out, because his videos are apparently like 2 minutes long.
Oh, I myself. I mean, your attention span's too short. I'm gonna watch this.
I can't do it.
Yo.
What's a positive piece of information about OJ, I guess?
Oh yeah, you want me to do a positive reframing of this? I can. Okay, a positive reframing of this OJ thing. I think I was very fascinated when I watched the documentary. Mm-hmm. It's just like, for me, like the sidelining thing. It's like OJ is a sociological study. Like,
oh yeah,
he shows you like the embodiment of the racists, and it just shows you like what is going on in America.
Yeah,
and like legit, like, he was very representative of what was going on in the country at that time. And I don't know. I think that sometimes when I look at OJ's case, and then like, I loved how they did, like, I love when they did that documentary where they showed like concurrently what was going on in the country with what was going on with him, like, while he was playing ball at USC, what was going on with the civil rights, and then when they were like, when he was going to trial, like how the riots in LA, what was going on. So I guess as a historian, which I got a degree in history, I can appreciate OJ's I don't know, impact or so, but just no, actually it's not impact. OJ is like a big mirror to America. That makes sense. Like, as I told you, it's not OJ that I would want to look at. It's going to be like the comments.
Boy.
He literally exposes the ugliness of America, and it just kind of gets you just like, I guess I like to think. I like to think like that, and like to think of big pictures sometimes and random stuff.
Yeah.
Yo, it's going to be like just the most random people are going to come out and support him or not support him. It's just nuts. So that's it. That's the positive reframing. OJ exposes what America is, and then you just kind of like, it's entertainment, but mindlessly entertainment.
And I had one question I wanted to ask you.
Okay.
So what's the best, since, Father's Day literally just happened, what's the best advice that you could give anyone out there that's anticipating being a father?
You're not going to get no sleep. Yeah, that's true. I say this is real talk. That's the realest thing I can ever say, is that kids are the biggest mirrors. Okay, 2 things. They're the most forgiving mirrors, but they're the biggest mirrors of yourself. Meaning, like, anything that you're dealing with, any insecurities, any shortcomings that you think you have, anything that you're not proud of, it is exacerbated when you have kids. And if you don't check yourself, kids will remind you. And they also, sometimes they motivate you for change. So if you're like really suck at spending money and your finances suck and you're not good at spending money, kids gonna make it worse because you're gonna have no more money. And so your spending habits are going to be worse when you have kids. Or they're going to motivate you for change and say, you know what, because of these kids, I need to be a better person. But kids are a big mirror and expose the shortcomings in you. For that, with my being said, like one of my biggest things I would say throughout my life was not having a purpose in regards to career or achievement. I was just kind of floating. Mind you, I would say things like, you know, I just wanted to have a nice 9 to 5 and take care of my wife and have money and you know, live nice. But then when I had kids, I think it switched where I was like, I don't want just a career. I want to leave a legacy, or I want to be impactful. I want to make a difference. And I think the biggest motivator of that is my 2 boys. Like, they literally put that mirror on me and were like, Philip, what do you really want to do? And I was like, I want to do something good for them. So those insecurities, and I think the insecurities that the big mirror part of the insecurity part was like, you know, that sense of worth, or am I good enough, or do I mean something? I think that sometimes I have to really take a look back and be like, okay, well, maybe I'm not the president of this or big time, but like I have 2 little human beings that think I'm everything. So in that regards of my mirror and my confidence, legit, I'm okay. Like, you know, they think I'm cool. Like, you don't know. I think about like every time I get home from work, they actually run up to me and like Daddy's home. And then they flip out and they throw tantrums and all that, and they act like normal. But for that instant right there, it's like a human being is so happy that you're home. So my biggest advice for someone that's about to have kids is fix whatever you're working on. If you got to go to counseling, fix it. It's not going to be completely solved, but just address it. Have some awareness of it. You know, if you're not confident about this, or you and your wife fight about this. Because I was about to say that too. You and your partner, whatever issues you have, that's the giant mirror part. It's only exacerbated because both of y'all are tired. Both of y'all don't have a time for each other. Both of y'all just exhausted. And it's not fun. And then you got only each other, so you got to like make sure that you really work it out, because the kids are just going to make it tougher.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was my question.
Yeah.
That's a good answer. That's
a
really good answer.
Well, I'll tell you that now. I mean, it's easy, you know. Not easy. Kids, I did this for Father's Day. I tell you right now, it's the most. These sound like the most generic things ever, but usually the most generic quotes are the most real quotes. It's the hardest but most rewarding thing you'll ever do. Like, there's moments where you're like legit, like, why did I do this to myself? Why do I have kids? My life was so much X, Y, and Z. And then I look at myself and I go, I cannot imagine my life without these human beings. They make me and my family complete. My wife was saying this too, like when we had our second son, we're like, we're so tired. Why do we do this? Why do we have 2? We had 1. We were doing so well with 1. Why do we do this? And then I look at my second one, and I was like, what? I can't imagine him not being around.
Yeah.
Or like he's going to play with his older brother someday. So like there's a lot of that. It's a lot of kids make you get in your head a lot.
Yeah.
But it's awesome. Got little mini clones. Oh yeah. I'd like to say shout out to my wife, Maggie, and shout out to my boys, Bennett and Miles, a.k.a. the mini clones. Unfortunately for my wife, she gave birth to 2 boys, and they are literally 2 mini-me's.
Oh.
She's by herself.
Oh,
2 hyped. She's at 3 hyped. She got a baby, a toddler, an adult, teenager. That's me. So
wait, what? You're the adult teenager?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, come on, bro. Look at her. Look, like, I mean, it's not going to be, like, surprise. I went to Austin. I got the coordinates of Austin, Texas on my leg.
I'm sorry. That's actually really funny.
Yeah, so.
I feel like I need to do that. I need to go and get, like, coordinates of something on
Please go where you're from, though, or somewhere it has meaning rather than where it was.
I mean, you didn't get, like, the cowboy star on you or nothing like that.
That was bad. I should have done that.
You sure about that?
Hook 'em horns.
Oh, Lord.
All right, so we're at the end of the episode. I think this is a great episode. This is obviously the part of the episode where I give the guests the opportunity to shout outs and plugs. We'll put all this in the show notes. This episode is going to drop in between the break. We will be coming back to the podcast officially August 5th, but I thought, while Greg was showing me how to do a podcast, why don't we just do one? That's how I do. I'm pretty random like that. But the floor is yours. Shout outs and plugs, everything that you want the listeners to follow up with, everything to put in the show notes. Go.
Okay, so as always, this is Greg, aka Hibachi Poppy. You can actually follow us at Young Black Pod on every single platform. I try to keep it simple. So Young Black Pod on every single platform. I would plug my own Instagram, but I'm more focused on the podcast. So Young Black Pod on everything. Obviously, thank you, Phil, for inviting me on the show. I think E will probably be doing something soon as well. So
yeah, but E's show will be when we record. E's will be after the podcast break.
Yeah, and that will be a great show. I'm honestly anticipating that because all the history you guys have, and obviously buy some merch from us as well. If you are looking to podcast, just remember my rule of thumb: do not get a USB mic, and trust yourself, trust your co-host, and just test it out. The platform for podcasting is absolutely perfect for anybody who wants to do it. If you have the gift of gab, or if you just like to talk to yourself, or listen to a podcast, like Positive Philter is a absolutely great podcast. If you aren't already listening to it, this should be on your list. Self-help and self-care is vital. It's paramount, and people just do not take that seriously enough. A lot of people will tell you that you care more about everyone else. Care about yourself. Listen to Positive Philter.
You did a shout out to my own episode on my episode. I appreciate
Why
you.
not?
I don't know.
Why not?
I don't know. Maybe I should get that on my leg too. I'm gonna get that on my other leg. Shout out to myself. So it's been a great episode. We're gonna do this again. Obviously, mad collabs, and that's it. We're over and out. Oh, if you got a question for the podcast, please still continue to leave questions. We do Q&A episodes every now and then, so we're still collecting episodes for the break. You can either just use the Google form that is in the show notes, or you can also call 571-336-6560. That's 571-336-6560. That is a phone number. You leave the voicemail on that phone number, and I can, listen to it. Or actually, now that I got this skill right here, I can put these actually play the recordings into the episodes to answer your questions. So thank you very much, and we're out. Thank you for listening to Positive Philter, a podcast that focuses on family, friends, career, with a little self-help along the way. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with your family and friends, and like the Facebook page, Spreading Positivity of Movement. Thanks for listening.